what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about how to hire smart, and I also want to talk about once you make the hire, how do you help that hire make a fast impact? And as far as hiring smart, but both topics, we're going to talk about the idea of slowing down so you can go fast. So sometimes the fastest way to go fast is to go slow. And in this case, what you want to do when you're hiring is you want to hire based upon someone's past behavior. So I had a speaker named Barry Shamis who talked about the fact that people are 88% likely to repeat their behavior. So let's just assume that's true. And I think anecdotally that it might be true, even if you look at your own life and how you repeat your own behavior. I know I'm a creature of my behavior. I'm a creature of my habits. Some habits serve me, some habits don't serve me. And if it's a negative behavior or negative habit, there's got to be something intervening that makes me want to change. So let's assume that Barry Shamis is right, that 88% of the people are likely to repeat their behavior. If that's true, how do you hire smart? Well, you hire based upon past performance, but you need to prepare yourself to do this. And so the way to prepare yourself is to do what's called a success profile. And the success profile has certain elements that I'm going to walk you through. Element number one is there a business need for the position? And just because somebody quit or got fired doesn't mean that there's still a business need for that position. In fact, maybe it's an opportunity not to rehire, and you just don't have to rehire. So, but if there's a true business need, then pull out your computer and create a short outline. And the first thing that goes on it is, number one, what is the business need for the position? And clearly articulate that business need. And once you're clear on the business need, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, what are the 3 to 5 outcomes that if these outcomes happen, the business need would be met? And you want to outline that. And then the third thing you're going to do is once you know the outcomes, you're going to say, okay, what behaviors on a consistent basis secures those outcomes? And so once you have that, then the fourth thing you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, what would be the questions that I could ask this candidate that would help me get to their past behavior? And so you want to develop a list of questions that actually helps you unpack with the candidate what their past behavior is. And as an example, let's say you're hiring, I'm going to keep this simple. Let's say you're hiring a team lead for a position. So the first question is, did you lead a team, right? If they're going to say yes or no. How many direct reports did you have? They're going to say ideally 3 to 7. If they say 12, beyond span of control, you might want to go into another line of questioning. But let's say that they had 7 reports. Okay, how often did you do one-to-ones with those 7 reports? In other words, how often did you do recurring one-to-ones with each of those reports? And if they tell you once a month, that tells you something. If they tell you that some of the people they did once a week, some of the people they did every other week, that's interesting, right? You can dig down further on those team of direct reports. Who was your strongest performer and how did you retain them? You can go to talk about the weakest person on the team. Who is your weakest direct report and how did you retain them? So this is just a short example for how to kind of start to unpack what they did, how they led, that type of thing. And the book that you can read, the book that can become kind of your guide, is Hiring 3.0, New Rules for the New Economy. And it's basically, it's like the title says, Hiring 3.0. And it's by Barry Shamis, and Shamis is Shamis. We'll put a link in the video so that you have that. So now you've hired based on past performance. How do you help the person hit the ground running as quickly as possible? And for a lot of people, they're not going to really start to make an impact until after 3 months. But what I see happening is that there's no thought that goes into the onboarding or the training of that person. And so this is what I have done, this is what I believe in, and this is what I continue to do. And what I like to do is I like to create an onboarding and a training outline. And I see it as actually not just it's a recruiting and a retention tool. So in other words, with candidates, especially candidates that are finalists, I will let them know, hey, I'm going to create an onboarding and a training doc for you. And you're going to own that doc. and you're going to be able to make edits to it, and you're going to be able to change it. But I'm going to give you a roadmap for what I want you to accomplish. And this roadmap is going to be something that helps you get to know the team, helps you get to know the company, and kind of gives you a bright line about what you need to learn as quickly as possible. And so, what are the elements of the onboarding document? And the best way I would describe it, I'm going to give you a highlight of it before I go into the detail, is outline what happens on the first day, then talk about what happens in the first week, then the first month, then the first quarter, the first 6 months, and the first year. And I promise you, if you give a new hire that level of specificity, that roadmap, they don't get that from a lot of employers. Okay. Now let's go into, I'm going to give you an example for what the first day could include. Okay. So it's an intro. The CEO or the president can walk the person around, or who they're reporting to, and they can introduce them to the key people, right? Depending on the size of the company, there may be, what I would like to do is I would like to have a lunch with them. So they're going to meet with the CEO. And what are we discussing? And I'm going to read off my outline, but you want to talk with them. The purpose of the onboarding and the training outline, it's to help them, get them immersed in the culture and the process and in the goals and the strategy of the company as soon as possible, get to know the people. And so you're going to talk to them about the purpose of the onboarding and the training outline. You're going to express to them and reinforce that they own their own training and onboarding, not you. They own it. And they are entitled to edit it and change it and talk to you about it as you go. The second thing is that you're going to, as the CEO, I want to discuss my vision, my culture, my team, my resources with them. I want to discuss the 3 or 4 values that are key to me that I use as a filter. And these values are a filter for what I might encourage, what I might discourage, and what I will never tolerate. And I want that to be very, very clear with the new hire. I'm probably going to talk about the strategic plan. I'm going to talk about the fact that I want them, if they're reporting to me, I want to talk to them about the fact that I want them to set up a recurring one-to-one with me. And I want them to know that they lead me during their one-to-one, and that's a different subject. I want to talk to them about, my strategic, financial, and communication cadence. I want to talk to them about my style of delegation. I want to ask them to journal their perspectives as they go through their onboarding and their training. I want them to journal perspectives about what should we start doing, what should we stop doing, what should we continue to do, because they've got fresh perspective and insights that are amazing. And I want them to present that stuff to me in 6 months. Another thing that has to happen on day one is just blocking and tackling. Have their computer and their login and their workspace ready for them. Have, flowers on the desk for them, whatever. And then in the first week, there's probably 3 to 5 key people that I want them to know well. And I want them to focus on building relationships with those people. And I'm going to make it easy for them. I'm going to give them their name, their title, their phone number, where they're working. I may even do light intros that day. And then the second thing is if they're on my leadership team, my executive team, I'm going to do the intro of them to that leadership team or that executive team. And I'm going to do that by asking them a series of questions. And I'm not even going to tell them to prepare for it. I'm going to know them so well through the interviewing process and also through the hiring process and just that first day that we spent together. I'm going to know what questions to ask them. So what was their education? What's most important? What do they value most? How do they center themselves? How do they ground themselves? What do they care? What is their domain expertise? Why did they want to join the company? Things like that. And the questions can change all the time, and you don't have to get rigid with it. But the point is, make this person real. Make this person share information in a non-threatening way. And so that's what happens in the first week. And then I'm going to also expect them and ask them to read up on what our strategic plan is and collateral for the company, like literature, brochures, study the website, basically get familiar with all the stuff that can be read and devoured and just create more intimacy and understanding with what the company does. I'm going to want them to schedule their first recurring one-to-one with me, and I want it to be recurring, and I want it to be on a cadence that's weekly at the beginning. That all happens in the first week. First month, I want them to start to learn company systems and processes, and I want them to see the dashboard and the flash report that contains the KPIs, systems and processes. Think about CRM, think about ERP if you have it, but I want them to start to understand the systems that we have and that we use. And I want them to talk, after they review the strategy roadmap, I want them to talk to me about the strategy and our execution. And I want them to share with me where they see gaps. And then I want them to also, those 3 to 5 people that I talked to them about on the first day, I want to see that in the first month that they're taking those people to lunch. So we're going to do a retake on this. So that's what happens in the first week. What happens in the first month is I want them to start to learn the company systems and processes like CRM, ERP if it applies. I want them to learn about our dashboard and our flash report that contains our KPIs. I want them to take, in that first week I asked them to review the strategic plan and collateral on the website and things like that. I want them to talk to me about their understanding of the strategy and the execution roadmap that we've created. I want them to talk to me about the gaps that they might see or things that they don't understand. And it's helpful for me because it's fresh perspective. It's helpful for them because I'm there to coach them. And then the other thing I want them to do in that first month is I want them to take those 3 to 5 people that I identified the first day and in the first week. I want them to take those people to lunch and really get to know them. And they could be maybe peers or just people that can help them understand the company and the strategy and our execution. That's the first month. The first quarter is, and by the way, this is just me off the cuff. It's easy for the hiring person to create this onboarding and training document if they think about the format of it, right? The first day, the first week, the first month, the first quarter, the first 6 months, first year. So what happens in the first quarter? I may want them to meet with certain clients and suppliers and stakeholders. I may want them to have a different objective for each of those types of groups. I want them to demonstrate mastery of the systems and processes that are germane and relevant to their job. I want them in that first quarter to talk to me about how the weekly one-to-ones are going with me or their hiring manager. I want them to ask me, how do I think they're doing, right? And specifically, how they're doing on the onboarding and the training outline, and basically just how are things going overall. Then I want them to present to me their plan for securing the results that we discussed by year's end. And, again, I don't think they're really going to make that much of an impact in the first 3 months, but I want them to start thinking about how are they going to secure the results that we need or that I want. What happens in the first 6 months? Well, we come back to, hey, share those perspectives on what we should start, stop, and continue. A new hire is not jaded by the past. They're not encumbered by the future. They just have fresh eyes. They got wisdom and experience from their other role, their other company, and it's a valuable time to get that information from them. And also in the first 6 months, I want them to go deeper into the company and build, stronger relationships with maybe other people. Instead of A, B, and C, it's now D, E, and F. But this is all mapped out in advance. And then finally, what happens in that first year? I want them to deliver the results that we talked about, maybe the first day, first week, but I want them to deliver those results, the X, Y, and Z results. If they didn't hit the results, why didn't they hit the results? And then I want to do a 360 with them, for them, on them, but also I want them to give me feedback on me and do a 360 with me. And finally, I want them to share feedback on how the onboarding and the training process went.